Hello, welcome to Introduction to Java Programming. In this session, we will discuss about nested classes. Let's begin. So nested classes are there in Java from Java 1.1. That means since beginning, nested classes are there. So what is a nested class? A class which is defined in another class is a nested class. In Java, a class can be defined in another class. So that is possible. So we have nested classes. And there are two kinds of nested classes. One is the nested class is the nested class which is given with the static keyword, that is called static nested class. And another is the nested class without any static keyword, that is non-static nested classes, which are also called inner classes. So basically, our nested classes can be inner classes, which are non-static, and static nested classes. So an example, let me actually show you here. So for example, I have a class outer, right? This is my main class. This class we know already. This can be public, this can be default, or this can be abstract, or this can be final or strict FP. So these are some of the modifiers which can be applicable to the outer classes. So let me tell you, so public is applicable, unspecified is applicable. So I'm not giving anything that is unspecified. So here I didn't give anything. So public can be given, and then final can be given. A class can be final, and of course a class can be abstract, which we have understood already. And a class can be strict FP also. Strict FP means strict floating point. So these are the modifiers, 5 modifiers that we can apply to any outer class. So inside a class, we can actually define other classes. So for example, I have now a class inner, and I can have what are all possible in a class that are. So here I am not specifying about any static or something, right? So this is an inner class. Now I can have another class, let's say class nested, and which is designated as static. So this is a static nested class, and this is a non-static nested class, which are also called inner classes. So in a class, we can have other classes defined. That's possible. Okay, so that's a concept of nested classes. And in order to understand more about this, let's actually go to some presentation here. Yeah, so we have nested classes, and let's understand actually why we require nested classes, why a class has to be written inside other class. So we have seen there is inheritance, there is realization, there is association, right? We can write different classes. We can inherit if easy relationship is there, and we can associate the other class with other one more class, and we can have this customer account, customer address kind of stuff done. So why a class has to be there inside the other class? So there are certain compelling reasons for that. So first way is it's a way of logically grouping the classes. You have to group them logically together. So then we require nested classes, and we have seen in association there is one relationship called composition. Composition is a whole by part relationship where that relationship is so strong actually. So if the part ceases and whole also ceases, that means if part is not there, then whole also doesn't exist. And we have seen an example like car and engine. If engine is not there, that's no longer a car. If processor is not there, that's no longer a computer. So these kind of things, if you see in your problem space, then you have to model them as nested classes. So that's what the logical grouping. So whenever you are modeling, if you find a relationship which is composition, then you actually keep the other class inside some other class. Okay, so definitely if you write a class inside other class, encapsulation is increased, right? So directly in a class, I have data members and methods are tying together. We have encapsulation. Now in a class, you have another class, and that class has the data. Definitely one level of encapsulation got increased, right? So it increases the encapsulation. But of course, it is more readable and maintainable if you write less code. So these are some of the reasons why we require nested classes. And there are different kinds of nested classes. And firstly, broadly, there are two kinds. One is non-static, another is static, right? So non-static are called inner classes. So we can see here a non-static are called inner classes, and we have static nested class also. But these inner classes are again three kinds. Okay, so inner class as a member class, and inner class as a local class, and inner class as a local class but without a name. Local class but without a name. So let me explain you that actually. Okay, so here whenever you are writing inner class, so static class is very much clear. Static class is very much clear, and there are no further divisions. But whenever you write an inner class, it can be the one possible is you can straight away write like this. You have one possibility is something like this. So you can actually say class A. This is just like a member. Okay, just like other members of this outer class, this class is a member. Then the second possibility is actually a local class. Okay, so this is actually a member class, just like a member, and this is a local class. What is local? Anything local is defined inside a method, right? Local means inside a method. So now you can have a class defined inside a method also, right? So for example, I have a method, this method is there. So this method is defined in class outer, right? And in this method definition, I can have some class B. I can have some class B, right? So this is actually the local class. Okay, and the class name is B. And the third and important thing is actually third one. This is called anonymous inner class. Anonymous inner class, very important. Anonymous inner class. Okay, so anonymous inner class is a class which is defined inside a method. So now let's say I have a method here. Let's say method void fun, and as part of this method, I am defining a class actually, and which has no name. Anonymous inner class means it's a local class. Okay, and anonymous, local anonymous inside a method, but it has no name actually. So how do you write a class without name? So that's important actually. So this we will take separately as a session, but we will have a class defined inside. So this is the class actually. We will have the class definition defined. Okay, without any name. So this has no name actually, but it can get instantiated. So we will use actually new keyword, and we will use actually the super type of the class which we are creating. So I will actually explain that what is this about. So this is called process of instantiation, and this is the class definition, and then you will have anonymous inner class, right? So there are three kinds of inner classes. One is straight away the member class, and another is a local class which has a name. The other one is a class, a local class which has no name actually. So like that we have three different uh, inner classes. Okay, fine. So whenever you have the inner class, these inner classes can have uh, other modifiers. So my inner classes can be private, my inner classes can be protected, and my inner classes can be static, right? So if it is static, static nested class. Static means separate static nested class. Okay, and otherwise it's not static, it is inner, then it can be private and protected also. Okay, just like any other member, my class also can be private, protected, and we can have separate static classes as well. Okay, let's go back to the slides actually. These are the types. Hope you understood the types. And then few things actually. So we are going to deal with inner classes initially. Later we'll go to static nested classes. Of course, static nested classes are fairly simple. So let's understand the inner classes. Okay, so when you write an inner class inside an outer class, so this inner class can access all the members of the outer class. That is one thing. And inner class is associated with instance of the outer class. It cannot define any static members. The only thing that you have to remember is when you write an inner class, you cannot have static members, because this inner class is part of your outer class object. right? So inner class instance is actually part of the outer class object. So you cannot have static. Anything static that will not be part of uh, the object. That's why inner class cannot have static things, because the objects of inner classes exist within the objects of the outer class. I will show you with an example here. So here, this is my outer class and I have, let's say, inner class. So first I need to create an outer object, and my inner object I will create inside the outer object. So this is what actually happens. So since your inner object is existing inside the outer object, so inner cannot have static, because if it is static, it should actually be part of this object, right? So inner cannot have static members. Okay, so that's the thing actually. And then how do you instantiate? How do you instantiate an inner class? Okay, I will actually tell you with that example. So this is the syntax actually. If at all you want to instantiate, first you need to mention your outer class and then inner class. Like that only you will you will call the inner class and then inner object, and this inner object must exist in the outer object, must exist in the outer object. So let me actually show you with an example over here. Yeah, so for example, I have a class A. Let me have a class A. Let's assume I have a outer class A and I have a class B here, which is my inner class, right? Inner member class. Now, how to create an object of this inner class? Yes, this is the thing actually. So first, in order to create an inner object, first you need to create the outer object. So now you have to say initially A equal to new A, outer object exists. Then you can actually create inner object. So how do you specify inner object? You cannot start directly B, because B is part of A, right? So now you have to say A dot B and the instance is B, right? A dot B equal to, and this exists within the object of within the outer object, right? So now A dot a new B. So this is how we can create inner object. Firstly, you need to have outer object and then the instance. So how to refer inner A dot B, because you cannot directly say B here because it's part of A, and this object exists inside the outer object. So same actually given as syntax here. Outer class dot inner class, inner object equal to outer object dot new inner class, right? Outer object dot new inner class. So this is one thing one has to understood. And then, so when I compile actually, what is going to happen? So that's also I will tell you. So now where if at all you want to make any, if at all you want to make a class main here, which class you will make? Definitely we will class our A as main class, because inner class cannot have static members. You cannot write a main method in the static this inner class, because inner classes doesn't have static members, and I have to write my main in outer only, right? Let's say this is a.java. So when I compile, what happens, when I compile this, so we will have two classes created. So first is a.class, and the other is $B class. So $B dot class, because this dot class file is actually for this class B. It exists inside class A, right? So that's why when I compile this a.java, I will have a.class. This is my outer class, and my inner class is actually $B dot class. So these things you should know actually. These are the new things here. So that's what I am saying here. When you compile a class with one or more inner classes, and then it produces many dot class files. So for example, you have the class name dot class, and the class name dollar inner class name, right? Yeah, I will show you after writing certain code actually. Okay, so these are the details of the nested classes. So quickly sum up. In Java, we can have a class defined in another class, and these nested classes are two kinds: non-static nested classes, which are called inner, and static nested classes. And coming to the inner classes, there are three kinds. One is a member class, and the rest two are local classes. And out of this local class, one is the named local class, another one is anonymous local class actually. Okay, so now let's actually write a program to understand whatever we have discussed. Okay, so what I'm saying here, your outer class can have 5 modifiers. Can have 5 modifiers. These are the 5 modifiers. The first one is actually default. So default modifier means which we have not specified anything, right? Of course, public final abstract is there, and your inner classes can be private, protected, other than these 5. Okay, your inner class can be public, default, final, abstract, and private and protected also. Okay, and of course we have static nested classes as well. Okay, now let me have one data member over here. So int data equal to uh, timing. I'm actually giving certain value int data, or otherwise int string, whatever it is. So for example, I'm saying int data equal to 99. Okay, so I want to make it private. So what I'm doing here, I'm initializing also. Okay, for the time being, I'm initializing because I want to access that. Okay, so it's a private member. And now I am going to write a class inside the outer class. So now the name of the class I am giving is inner. And this inner class is a default class, right? So default specified. I have not specified, so it is default specified. Just like another member, I have a class which is inner class, like another member. Now in this class inner, now I am going to write a method. Let's say that is the message method. MSG void message. It's a default method again, so I have not specified public or something. And here what I want to do is just I want to system.out.println. I want to access. So being an inner class, just like it is a member of outer class, right? It can access all the members of its enclosing class, even if they are private, right? So because it's also just like a member of this class, it can access all other members of this outer class. So now it wants to print data of outer class is, yeah, so that's what I'm printing. Data of the outer class is how much data. So from the inner class, I am accessing the outer class private members, because that's possible. We are within a class, you can access even private also. So that's it. So this class is defined here, right? So now I have a class outer. Inside I have an inner class, non-static class, which has a method which is accessing the outer data variable. Okay, that's my definition, and just I'm going to write my main method. So in the main method, now where is the behavior in the class? The behavior was there in the message method, and message method is part of the inner class. If at all I want to call that, so I need inner object, right? So if at all you want to create inner object, first you need to have outer object. So now outer out equal to new outer. So this is how I'm going to create my outer object. This is my outer object. Okay, so now because outer object is available, now I can actually call my I can actually create my inner object. So let's create inner object here. So inner object creation. So how are we going to do? So I can refer to inner like this: outer dot inner sum in equal to outer dot inner sum in equal to, yeah. So this object should exist in the outer object, right? So out dot, then I have to say new inner. So this is how we can create the inner object. This is the syntax. You require outer object, and then this new inner is part of your inner class, outer class object. Okay, so firstly you will have an object created, and inside you will have another object actually. So now what you can do is you can call the behaviors in dot message. You can do that. So other than this one actually, okay, so if at all any method, for example, outer class has a disp method, the disp method also can be there. So void disp, and this is a method in the outer class. So let's say it says I'm outer class method. It says I'm outer class method. So you can have these methods. So in order to call this disp method, what you require, outer object is required. So we can actually say out dot disp. So outer class method I'm calling with out object, and inner class method I'm calling with in object. So how to create in object? outer.inner in equal to new inner. That's it. So this is an example of having a class inside the other class and the two inside inner class, non-static class. So let me compile this and show you that. Yeah, so this is saved as javac outer.java. Okay, compiled successfully. There is no issue, right? Compiler allows a class inside the other class. So because it's there. So now let me show you actually. Let me show you the bytecodes. Java p outer. Java p outer, because outer.class file will be there. So it is compiled from outer.java and public class outer, and there is a constructor. And it's not actually showing me all other details. Okay, just public class outer, and it has a constructor. Let me save this once. Java p outer.java, javac, and then when I say Java p outer, yeah, so now it's just showing me public class outer, and the outer constructor was there. And after that, there is an inner class, and there is a method called disp also. Now let me show you outer dollar inner, outer dollar inner also. Okay, so now you can actually see it's also compiled from outer.java and public class uh, compiled from outer.java, and it's also showing me class outer and public outer. Okay, so this class is actually the inner class. So if I say ls, now you will see you have outer dot class somewhere here. Let me show you. Yeah, so here you have outer dot class and outer dollar inner class. This outer dollar inner class is actually for the inner class which I have written, and outer class is for the outer class. Okay, so dot class files got generated. Now let me run actually this one, Java outer. Then you, okay, so I haven't written main method here. Yeah, main method is there, right? So let me, main method not found in the class outer. Please define the main method as public static void main. So what happened here? So this is my class, and this is my private, and this is my inner class, and this is my disp method, and this is my main method, and I'm creating the objects, and main is closed and outer is closed. Let me save this. Outer.java. So okay, it's actually getting saved. Okay, replace, it's there, but yeah, let me compile once again. So let's see what's the problem with this. Javac outer.java. Yeah, so when I say Java outer, yeah, it's working now. Okay, there is some issue in saving actually. Now see data of outer class, because in dot message I'm saying, so data of outer class is 99, and then out dot disp, this actually showing me I am outer class method, right? So this is simply how a class can have another class, and that too we are discussing about the member inner classes. Okay, so like this we can do, and there is another way of doing actually this thing. We can actually instantiate this inner class in the outer class method also, in the outer class method also. So how we can do that? So let me actually show you. So here in the outer class method disp, I can actually say inner sum in equal to new inner. Okay, like that I can actually do that, and immediately I can call this method in dot message. This is also possible. This is also possible. Okay, so now you need not to create inner object over here. Okay, I will actually keep it like this. So just I will call out.display. Outer object I am creating, and I am saying out.display as part of my dis method. As part of my dis method, what happens? It prints I am outer class object, a method, and then is getting instantiated over here, right? So when you come here, outer object is already there, right? So this inner object will get created, will exist in out only, right? See, when main method started, out object created, then out.disp. As part of the disp method execution, you are instantiating in actually. So that means this will be in the this will exist in out object, right? So that's also possible. Let me actually show you that this also will run. Both will run. Java C outer.java, and when I run Java outer here, now you can see I'm outer class method. So this is getting printed out.disp. It's going and it's printing me outer class method. And then in.message was called. So data of outer class is 99. So you can actually do like this also, right? Let's have an outer class. Then you have whatever the data that you want, whatever the methods you want, you can define an inner class. Now this you can straight away instantiate by referring outer.inner. Otherwise, you can instantiate that in any method of your outer class, just like this. So these are two ways actually. Okay, so this is about basically what are nested classes, types of nested classes, and member inner classes. Hope you have understood. In the next class, we will see the local classes and local anonymous classes. Thank you.